Hello, I'm John Feldt, and this is the Hurricane Sandy Hydro-Meteorological Assessment for Monday, October 29th, 2012. Let's take a look at a couple satellite pictures to start. Sandy is a tremendously large system. It's impacting a large part of the southeast U.S. all the way down from Atlanta. I heard that winds at Asheville, North Carolina, and higher elevations are gusting over 50 miles an hour, all the way across the mid-Atlantic up into the northeast U.S. So when we talk about a very large system, certainly we have larger areas that can get rainfall, heavy rainfall, and the potential for flooding or impacts by excessive precipitation increase. Here's the latest visible satellite picture. While we don't see a real organized eye, we certainly clearly see that there's a strong rotation. We can see that the winds are flowing around this center of rotation here. The last couple days I mentioned that the heaviest precipitation and convection is off to the west, and we see the brightest clouds here. And that is the area that has been the most productive as far as rainfall, and that continues to be the case. And I think as it moves onshore, we are going to see from a hydrometeorological perspective, from a rainfall perspective, that the heaviest rain will be on the west and on the north side with these bands feeding in off the Atlantic Ocean. The setup remains the same. We have this system that's going to be interacting with a boundary, a frontal boundary with cold air off to the west, and that upper impulse that'll be absorbing Sandy's energy, and that is a setup of heavy and widespread rain and an enhancement of winds as well. The latest track as of 11 a.m., the winds continue to pick up. You might remember yesterday at my briefing there were 75 miles an hour maximum sustained winds. They're up to 90 miles an hour at this time. So they have increased a bit. I don't think they're going to increase much anymore as they pushes off towards the northwest. But any increase, even slight, could have a very significant impact. Now, I think what models are showing a high confidence as far as this track goes. That's why the spread's pretty narrow. The winds, the movement now has gone from the north-northwest. I think until we get that clear northwest turn, there's a little bit of uncertainty that it might be pushing towards the northern part of this cone. But I think over the next couple hours here, we will probably see a very more distinct northwest turn. And again, like I said, there's high confidence in these track. This is the latest ensemble model run of the GFS, and it does show a very tight spread. But any slight difference here, even though they're pretty tightly packed together, very slight differences to the north could have some differences in wind and surge impact. So keep that in mind, even though I don't talk much about surge type information in this briefing. Keep in mind that slight changes to the north will have further impacts further to the north. Now, I mentioned it's a very large system, very unusual in many aspects. This will be a historic event that will be looked at for a long time. There are currently watches and warnings and advisories up across almost the entire mid-Atlantic up into the northeast U.S., all the way from, like I said, from Atlanta, wind advisories, all the way up towards the northeast U.S. But I think the areas in red here, the warnings, give you a good idea of the scope of the most significant impacts, and many of these are rainfall or snow, precipitation type impacts. The rainfall forecast shows that the heaviest areas of rainfall are going to be associated with the core of Sandy as it pushes inland. Now remember, Sandy's forecast to push inland, slow a bit, and then gradually be lifted out with the upper flow. That slowing effect for about 24 to 36 hours, along with the actual core of heaviest rain, is going to be where the highest rainfall amounts occur. This secondary band here is going to be associated with the higher elevations and some influence of an upper or a surface front in that area. Wanted to give a quick update on how much rain has fallen so far, and some of the outer bands have affected areas of the North Carolina coast as well. The red is 6 inches of rain, and you can see how quickly the rainfall amounts can accumulate with this type of tropical rainfall. Yellow is 3 inches or more, and the red is 6 inches or more. So we're at the very, very beginning, but you can see up towards the Washington area, Washington, D.C. area, we're already starting to get a couple inches of rain, and that yellow, 3 to 4 inches, isn't too far away as it works up the Potomac. So definitely just the start of this event. Now we're going to want to keep an eye on how much rainfall accumulates per hour. The green here is on the average of about 3/4 of an inch an hour. I think that's going to be pretty typical with this event. I see a steady heavy rain rather than broken pockets of precipitation. So I think what we're going to be seeing is anywhere from a ½ inch to an inch per hour over a number of hours here in the core of heaviest rain. Now, I do see a little point of yellow in there, and that's over an inch of rain per hour, so we could get that as well. Now keep in mind that we are going to have that core of rain, and then off to the north and to the south, not quite as much. Briefly, for the last couple of days, I've sort of talked about the assessment of vulnerabilities. No change here. There are a number of vulnerabilities here: synoptic interaction, tropical moisture source, orographic lift, and the overall size that make this a high impact event from hydrometeorology. So these are things that are going to enhance the potential for significant rainfall. Now, if we take a look at a mesoanalysis here, this is the current situation as of midday on Monday. We see the precipitable water shaded in green, and that's it looks like 2.6 inches. I've shown that for the last couple days, and even though some folks say, well, it's not raining all that hard yet inland, keep in mind that as this precipitable water, the more and more water content, deeper water content pushes onshore, those rainfall rates will significantly increase. So we're just starting. The areas that are getting the heaviest rain, it's only about 1.4 to anywhere from 1 to 1.5. So we're going to be doubling that amount of precipitable water over the next 24 hours. So rainfall rates have nowhere to go but up over the next 24 hours. Orographic lift, I've sort of shaded in here our dashed line. The white dashed line are the higher elevations. We're going to have to the west cold air. That's going to form as snow, a foot or two of snow. Higher elevations of West Virginia, actually Virginia, West Virginia into Pennsylvania. And then on the, I don't want to say warm side because it's pretty chilly over the northeast U.S., but that'll be enhanced for rainfall, chance of flash flooding, maybe even some debris flow on the higher elevations on the warmer side of the system. Now here's one of the things I'll be looking at will be some of the short-term weather models. This is a forecast on Monday evening, and this is confirming sort of the rainfall forecast where we're going to have two axes of heavier rainfall. One axis will be right here with the core or the pushing in of that really high precipitable water. That's going to be really the slug of the highest precipitable water with the center of the circulation with Sandy at the heaviest rainfall amounts. And here's the secondary band here that I just mentioned as well. So this is a Monday evening, a forecast, and I think it sort of confirms that the heaviest rain will be associated in that area. And keep in mind that will also be the area of highest probability of flooding as well. Now right now the models are showing that rainfall drops off very significantly north and south of that core. So right now the greatest flood threat looks to me like it's going to be in this area, at least initially, through the first 24 to 36 hours. The Mid-Atlantic River Forecast Center has put out forecasts for moderate or major flooding, and these will probably change a bit. Forecasts are based on forecast rainfall. Once the rain is on the ground and can be measured, they'll be a little bit more fine-tuned. But purple gives you an idea of where major flooding will occur. Red would be moderate. And that is associated with that rainfall forecast of the heaviest rainfall. And you can see that major flooding, and this is the type of flooding where secondary roads and inundation of homes is possible in these areas of purple. And areas in red, also moderate flooding, can be some disruptions in those areas as well. No change to the snowfall forecast, mainly West Virginia, but also parts of western North Carolina, parts of Pennsylvania, highest probabilities. Right now I put in a model that shows there's 95% probability of snowfall accumulating at least 12 inches over a 48-hour period in this region. So in addition, from a hydrometeorological perspective, in addition to rainfall, snowfall is also a threat with Sandy. So the bottom line is not changing. Unfortunately, I wish we were wrong with this system, but it does look like this will be a historic rain and inland flood event, and all sorts of varieties of hydrologic impacts from wave and surge action, which will be very significant along the immediate coast, near coast pooling of water, widespread pooling of water along the coast, urban flooding in the densely populated portions of the mid-Atlantic and northeast U.S., flash flooding, Bainstem River flooding, and also very heavy snow. If you're interested in more information throughout the year, take a look at bluewateroutlook.com. You can also subscribe to get automatic notifications whenever I update another briefing on Sandy. Thank you for listening to today's briefing on Sandy. I'll probably be updating this again later today or tomorrow morning.